like a social net where once I took a certain amount of action, I knew I could like fuck off and you guys would take over and make sure it got done.
It's the impatience game for me. Like I just wanted everything to go so much faster, and I wanted to like I wanted that instant gratification of getting the keys and like being in the house and getting to start decorating.
Everyone, we did it. We actually bought the house. So thank you to both of you. We're in there. Today I wanted this to be an example of two things. One, we're going to shoot the shit and Katie and I have some fun AI trivia we're going to do at the end, put you two on the spot. Again, Jay, round two.
Great.
And then in the beginning, I want you guys to ask all the questions to us as, let's say, sub 30 first-time home buyers that you maybe wouldn't ask most of your other clients because they might be uncomfortable to answer. But Katie and I think, are very fair game to answer anything honestly. So I want to start there. What are some of the questions you always are like, oh, I'd love to ask my clients that, but I don't get to?
Oh, like right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
After closing, or
one of the nice things that I'll say to the camera, all
during,
this is going to be edited.
Right.
So, yeah.
Like
the whole process. Like all the things that you guys wish you could ask that you don't normally do. Or you're like, they left a 5-star review, that's good enough.
Okay. First of all, you didn't leave me a review yet, so there's that.
me either.
Me either.
So
let's
and I know,
and
I know,
Add it to click up. Add it to click up.
Let's just.
and I know for a fact
Wish
that
I could say that to all my clients, but there's.
and I know for a fact Will sent you guys an email about 30 seconds after the closing.
Oh
came through.
yeah.
My dopamine was too high still.
Yeah.
That's one of Will's. I mean, Will is a ninja. Like he gets that notification from the title company. That email is out in 30 seconds. So yeah.
Anyway. And you actually have the rights to all my social media stuff, so you could just. So
Right, mine too.
That's right. So there's that. So that's the first thing I would like to say to most of my clients that don't have access to my social media. But what do you think the most painstaking part of our process? Because we're always trying to improve. Because I don't think either you're getting better or you're getting worse. Never staying the same, right? So what was the best experience? I guess the best part of the process that we had, and what was the worst?
The
straight up
best part was what I would call like a social net. Where once I took a certain amount of action, I knew I could like fuck off and you guys would take over and make sure it got done. That was like, as a business owner, that was huge for me, where it's like, I knew there was like a certain amount of effort of like, I'm serious, I had to show you guys, and then I could kind of trust the service and like actually like get what I'm paying for.
Sure.
I think the most painful part was mental before we did certain things. And this is like kind of what we both talked about separately of like how to automate with intention. But it's like there were things that until I was seeing you two in person or on a phone call or Zoom, like we would have stayed up probably 4 hours a night talking about. And it would be like, oh, Mike said this thing in 30 seconds and I'm chill now. Or, oh, Jay just told me it works like that. Yeah. And so I think a lot of it is that most of us don't have parents that teach us like how any of this is going to work. Like they don't know. Yeah. And so it's also like, you know, unless you have like the rich uncle that's going to teach you, even his data is probably outdated unless he's bought in the last year. Okay. And so it's almost like there was this moment where even though I knew the flashy things from content about real estate, a lot of the basics of just like, how do I even approach Jay to say I need to fix my credit? Like that area of like, how to even ask you the question of it is a big one. And I think it was until we were literally doing our first podcast in this series that you were like, yeah, just do the fucking call. And it was hard to understand, like, I think, what the next milestone was as I was in the thinking paralysis. So I think it would be like just having checklists to us of like, hey, here's a checklist of like, do this scary step because then these open up, almost like a video game. Okay. Where like I kept trying to outthink being afraid. Like that's a quote I always say is like, don't try to like talk yourself out of the fear of it. And so I was trying to think out of the fear, which you can't do.
No, you can't.
So it had been like when you were like, hey man, all this talk is great about finding a house. Once you talk to Jay and get pre-approved, then search. Yeah. And I think it was him saying, then search, that calmed all the anxiety. So I'm like, oh, that is the next thing. Okay.
That's cool. That's really good feedback, man.
Because and it's the trap we're all in, right? Where it's like, I show you guys something with AI and you're like, whoa. And I'm like, you guys don't do that every day. I think you guys do so much of this that
we have no feeling about it.
I say it's like a muscle, not a tool. Like you don't even realize what you're doing is something someone else should be trained on. It should be a system. To you, your body just like does it without thinking.
It's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up because I just went through this with a client of ours, a client that was referred to me. Because I traditionally do mostly investments, so most of my clients they're multiple homeowners, right? Like they own multiple properties. You guys being first timers, which I enjoy working with the house hack first timers. I just had a closing not 2 weeks ago before your guys is in Tremont with a couple of brothers that are doing the house hack method.
Sweet.
But I recently had a closing where it was a traditional sale. Homeowners were referred to me by a past client, and literally she had only bought the house in 2002, and she's now selling it in 2025.
The world's different.
And the world's a lot different, right? And she asked questions along the way that I was like, oh shit, we did not talk about that. So I think that's something else that it's a great point that you bring up. Like because the volume of transactions that we do, right?
And I think they need made once. Like even today, I was joking on the airplane coming home. On United, they now have like one of those brain rot focus videos where the ball is dropping the whole time, and it's not staff saying like how to put your mask on. It's like this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's way cheaper. They did it once, but now I'm like, holy shit, I'm watching this and I'm listening. And so I think it's like just make that video once, be done, and then maybe every 2 years you update it.
Right. That's really good feedback. Katie, what was your biggest pain point? Because Alex told me some, but I want to see if you want to tell me.
Will she be honest?
If she's not, I'll just lay it out.
Yeah.
So.
There you have safety.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, it was like it's the impatience game for me. Like I just wanted everything to go so much faster, and I wanted to like I wanted that instant gratification of getting the keys and like being in the house and getting to start decorating. Like that was looking back for me like my biggest thing.
What about in the moment?
I don't know. I mean,
Pop the bubble. You were afraid we couldn't execute. There's a trust issue.
Yeah.
Major trust issue.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear you say that we were afraid it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And explain it. Like these guys can take the hit. So like full vulnerability, like
Yeah.
they need to understand the psychology, and I think a lot of people should because you're not the only person that feels
That's why I want to talk. That's the only reason I want to talk.
It's the same trap that I think a lot of people fall into mentally when it comes to buying that first property, because it's like there's so many unknowns, like what you just spoke to, like you don't understand every step and every why behind every step, and then mixed with like. Yes, of course, like we work with real estate pros every day, so like I hear the realities of it, but you still also see the horror stories where it's like every contract's falling through or every offer is getting looked over and you're missing out on every opportunity, and then it's like, okay, like is this actually going to happen? And then like did we pick the right team? Like do we have the right people to like see us through to the finish line? And it's just all of those unknowns, especially it being the first time.
So go deeper on like even because like the thing that happened behind the scenes for everyone watching was like Katie had a lot of trust issues from people that would promise a lot and then not follow through, like as a pattern, whether it's growing up, high school, college.
Just like in general,
And one of the literal arguments I had to snap and make because I was like, do we need to like go through how many just sold and transactions these two have done? Like they're going to get paid, they're not going to let this deal fall through. Like I know both of them personally, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So like what was it like understanding just via their sales volume that should calm you down? Like did that help at all when I said that, or is that just like white noise?
I think it's obviously it's that physical, like tangible testament to both of your skills and both of your like follow through. But I also think like just knowing both of you as individuals and as people too, that was the other piece of it. Like after seeing not just like your like professional side and the volume, like that's helpful, but it's knowing like who you guys are as human beings and that you're not like shitty people, basically, like that you're not gonna like choose to screw me over, you know what I mean? Like it's that at its core.
I think that just happened on a transaction that we just closed where a client was like, this was all happening on the seller side. So we had her clear to close. Like the seller, there was a trustee involved that just disappeared. They had to appoint a new trustee. It was like a process. And this guy was like flipping out on me. Like, why are we not closing? Pump the brakes. You know, and he was saying, is this going to be like a bait and switch? Like, what's happening? And I had to like call him and just had to have a conference call with him and his wife and be like, hey, here's how this played out. This has nothing to literally do with us.
Yeah.
But still his anger was towards the mortgage company just because it's the way things go.
Yeah.
You know, it's just we're like kind of guilty until proven innocent almost.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you saying that, but also it was more than just so, you know, just because I want to talk about it for a second, but it was like so important for me to close your loan because I see him and you guys are involved in my business on a daily basis. So it was like great, there's money involved, but I could have not made any money and it would have been more important to close your loan because we work together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like a personal thing for me. It was like, your transaction is personal to us.
Mhm.
You know, at least I felt that
Yeah,
way.
no, I felt
You know?
much very much the same way. Because I know they had very different visions of what they wanted, right? You know, he was ready to buy like really
Expectations.
yeah,
is
the
is the
and
other.
this is a great exercise because
Yeah.
this happens a lot in our industry where, you know, one piece of the puzzle, you know, in this instance, you guys are a couple. One part of the couple doesn't really care. The other part of the couple does care.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot. And that I knew that was going to be somewhat challenging with you guys because, you know, based on our conversations, Katie, and knowing kind of the character pieces of a property that you wanted, because obviously we make the jokes. Sorry, Steve, about the grays, right? And that's the way that everything's been renovated the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
And so for us to find something that had some character, but still be like in the budget where we wanted to be, and
Yeah.
you know, just
And
all
not
those kind of
need
weird.
everything replaced.
Exactly. Something that was actually livable for you guys,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that was kind of a weird, you know, thing that we had to overcome.
Yeah.
And then I think for me too, I realized this about halfway through because I don't remember what you asked me, but where I knew I was like, oh shit, was thinking that you guys knew more about the transaction process than you do. Because my assumption is, well, you guys work with a bunch of agents, like, you guys know how this goes, right? Because that's what you brought it up. And I was like, I forget what you asked me, but it was about halfway through the transaction, and I was like, oh yeah, like, they've never done this before. And that's where it was like, for me, it was like that light bulb moment where I just say, oh shit, I need to like step back.
Yeah.
I need to maybe not make assumptions that you guys do already know.
Like,
You know,
I think I
A, B,
called
and
you at
C.
one point. Exactly, because I was like, wait a second, he has no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I called you and I was like, that's why we need this and this is why we're
Any
doing this.
email that came through was
And
like
it was
Apple
like-
terms of
It
service.
was
I was
like, yeah.
do they need an
I was like-
attachment?
But I thought though, because you do videos for so many lenders.
Yeah.
You do, you know, you
And
want
I'll
to
give you
do-
guys immediate
like,
client
you will,
feedback. Like she'll spit this right back. Like this is something I preach, and I know it sounds like I'm being lazy and not doing my job. Does this confirm to you both that the boring ugly is what the best content would be? Like the things that you guys think are boring, I do it every day.
Comments have
It's
to-
quite literally what would have been.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, because I think
There's a mix of
I think it needs to be a
entertainment
part
for
of
sure.
the entertainment people love, right? Like people love my little rants and stuff. But
It's my favorite.
secondarily, I think educationally, yes, it makes sense.
In that category.
In that
Yeah.
category, especially for your demographic, right? I mean, I know you've been putting out some content recently about, you know, your guys' generation not
Yeah.
wanting to buy houses or not buying houses, and why is that? So I think from an education piece, for sure, I think that's something that we can all lean into.
Yeah, and it's not like and this is what's interesting, like from old, like a lot of our social group is older than us, but in our age group, very few congratulations. And most people, it's like, let's see if this fails. Still to this point, even if like all we said is I'm not paying as much for a mortgage, there's a very different approach to home ownership now and how it's socially taken in.
Do you guys think that is because of when 2008 happened, you guys were like preteen?
So I think,
Yeah. And I think growing up, like I was always fed the thought that homeownership was a scam. And when you think about the conventional way that most, like my parents bought a home, it is. Like you're just buying that single family home, your starter home, as like when you're just like married and you're having your kids, that's a scam. Like getting trapped in that mortgage, like especially with a lot of like the upkeep and like everything else and the expenses that come into play as you grow that family and everything else in life, like you get stuck in that home. My parents got stuck in a home for 25 years and they couldn't figure out how to get out of it and sell it and then turn it around and be able to afford an interest rate on a new mortgage and all this stuff.
Gotcha.
And it's a mental
refis are
trap.
like survival events.
Yeah, and it's a mental trap too. And again, like when you own or buy before 08 and then all of a sudden you're stuck in this recession, you're losing your job, like you just hear all the time that the mortgage was a burden and owning a home was a burden and it was just annoying and it was, my mom complained constantly, I'm stuck in this house that I hate, I'm stuck in this house that I hate. And that's all I heard growing up. So I think it's having, and I think a lot of people heard that growing up in our generation,
for sure, yeah.
like because mortgages were a burden for a really long time after 08. And so I think there's just this mental reframing and education that has to happen for our generation especially, where like most of our friends had no idea that they could only put 3.5% down, do an owner occupied loan and make money on this property.
Right.
Most people don't know that.
Yeah, they think it's like crypto when you say that.
They think that's a scam. They think you're like scamming the government, or you're like you're not paying your dues.
Yeah.
Let's lean into it then.
Yeah.
I think that's great feedback.
I mean, I've had, for you guys, we'll just use your guys as examples. You put 3.5% down, and we got the seller to pay all your closing costs. It's like literally, you guys bought that place with what, about 10 grand?
66.92.
66.92.
Yeah.
All in.
Right. All in.
And so it's like that, and that was something where like dudes I know will drop 15K on Grand Cardone weekend.
Or Rolex.
Yeah.
Or car or something else. Like it's
or rent. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
or
paying
rent.
first and last month plus
Well, I mean,
deposit. You're $5,000 into a $2,500 apartment.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's do just quick napkin math here. What's your guys' PITI going to be?
Yeah.
1,800? 1,900?
No, not even. I think they're, what are you, around 16?
Okay. What's your guys' current? What was your last rent?
1692.
Yeah. So you're trading your rent payment for a mortgage, and then you're very likely to get at least 50%, if not 60 or 70% of that mortgage paid by your soon-to-be neighbor.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just reduce your that's what I preach to people is like reducing your.
So I'll say this: that actually matters way less than I expected. There's this nice calm of knowing it's not going away. Like I'll give you credit. Like some of those videos you and I made early on, it was I'd heard it said, but you just said it more than other people. So simple, louder kind of mentality of this isn't going away. It's stacking in equity. This is like something where this is going down in payment, and when I sell, that is actually a proceed. That's like where things go.
and you're in full control of that asset. Like there's no landlord or property manager saying, we may kick you out just because we can. Like there's like we live there and we choose to live there and we're in full control of that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
that's
like
where
the
I
stability
don't
of it.
understand also the generation saying, hey, it's a scam, or like we're going to be trapped in a house. And those are very valid feelings, especially around 2008, because I talked to so many people and I was a homeowner too. And the only reason I was on the flip side of that is because when the world burns, and it's terrible to say it, real estate's on, like when the world's burning, real estate does exceptionally well.
Yeah.
So I was in a bubble while this shit was going on, kind of.
Like
insulated in the next year. Like, yeah, my life was hell for about a year and a half, but after that it was very comfortable. You know what I mean? But rent is a variable rate mortgage.
Yeah.
Especially right now. Like I talk to clients every day that don't want to be part of the market, that wanted to continue to rent, that didn't want the burden of a house, but they were pushed because their market forced them out.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like is happening in Northeast Ohio quite a bit, is we have out-of-state investors, we have other, and that's cool, and I'm all about capitalism, but it gets to a point to where, like Lorraine, in certain areas that I grew up in, people who are, like the Ford plant's gone. I mean, it's in Avon, but those manufacturing production jobs that paid a wage where people can actually afford homeownership comfortably, now because of everything else going on economically, are in a rent environment where it's like, okay, my rent was $1,200, cool, but now it's 15, and now it's 17, and now I'm gonna have to buy because I need my payment to be back at 12. But what can I afford? Nothing.
Yeah.
What is in that price point? Not very much.
Yeah.
So that's creating a lot of pressure, I feel like, where people do need to understand, like, hey, this is actually extremely affordable, and I can do a rental if I want to, or an Airbnb, and my rent would actually be like $700 or $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
If I do it the right way, with the right team, with the right information, you know what I mean? And that's something that, I think all, whether you're 50 years old or you're 30, need to understand that.
Yeah, and I think another feedback I'll give you, at least for the male side, Katie, it's probably different for you, is like, funny enough, someone we both know, Tyler, found out I didn't own yet, like a month before we bought the house. And the shame, he said, you pay someone else's like mortgage, dude? Like the way he said it probably pushed me to take.
I know Tyler.
Probably pushed me to take more action than most other feelings.
You felt that insult.
Because when I tried to rebuttal it, I was like, he's 100% correct. And there's kind of that moment where I think the emotion side of it is very different now. Because like we've joked about it with my buddy Adam, like there's nothing he's going to dog me about that will even hit my eardrums until I know he's got at least his own property. And there is kind of this thing where, maybe in the normal like residential world, no one cares and this is taboo, but in business, like people check assets, they want to know how much money you make, they want to see these things. And the tone and respect in the last month that I've gotten at networking events, like I went to one in Akron, I bought a duplex. Everyone there has 10 flips going on, like millions of dollars lent out. And it was like just to have the community appreciate action, like socially, was like the pat on the back I wanted. And so I think for a lot of business owners out there, or just people with high income, like that is an event that I think makes others in the business world respect that I at least saved enough money and fixed my credit to buy a house.
I 100% respect it.
Yeah, it's like a proud, just not satisfied moment where it's like, I'm happy it happened. There's more to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's always more to do, but there's nothing wrong with enjoying the fact that you guys hit this milestone and you actually execute it, because you wouldn't imagine how many people we waste time with, most like that are just like all about the action but not about the execution. And what I mean by that is they like want to talk about it all the time and then they never execute on it. It's like, okay, there comes to a point to where I can only tell you what to do so many times or give you so many pre-approvals. You're not taking action like you should.
Eventually you have to sign the docs and spend the money and buy the house.
Yeah, we're actually going to take the time to look or fix your credit or do whatever and follow the plan.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million ways to go about it, and I think to your earlier point, and I don't know where we fix this, but the starter home is like fallen on deaf ears, right? Like now I know that the age of the first time home buyer, it's crept up considerably because of us. Our generation's going to college, delaying family. My parents married at 19, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a different time.
Yeah.
So I see that perspective of it, but you're losing all that time in the market. I'll use myself as an example. I bought my first house in 2003 at 25. I woke up one morning in 2008-9. My house was worth literally half of what I paid for it 6 years previously.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I had no equity because I bought my house in 2003 with zero money down. I bought a zero down loan back then.
Did you have a good lender?
I did. Sort of. No, it was a really good friend of mine. His dad was a really good friend of mine. His dad was in real estate. His dad was a broker. His dad took care of me. So, but you have to look at that and it was like, oh no, what do I do?
Yeah.
You look at the economy at that time, 2009. I mean, literally my neighbors, they were literally just handing their keys back to the bank and walking away. That's what made the whole house of cards collapse.
Yeah.
Is because you had all these homeowners who looked at the fact that their houses were worth half of what they paid for it. They were underwater by 40%. And they're like, well, I'll never get it back. And I had this epiphany where it was like, well, I have to live somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why just give my house back to the bank, have shit credit for 7 years, and then still go rent? So I just wrote it out. And, I still own that house to this day. Now it's a rental property for us now. But, like, that house is now worth about 50% more than I paid for it.
Yeah.
Now, it took 20 years. Right? It's not a great example of appreciation, but
it still came back and then increased. It's
so that's the other thing I emphasize with people. It's always timed in market, or we're trying to time the market. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the other wild thing that a lot of people, I don't think it gets talked about enough, is there have been six recessions, I'll say it in air quotes, since like 1977. The 2008 housing market crashed. That was the only recession of the six where housing prices went down.
Yeah.
Versus going up. Because typically in a recession, it's an inflationary environment. And what happens with assets in inflationary environments? They go up.
Yeah, exactly.
They go up. So.
And also, how quickly did that, recuperate? Very quickly. Inside of 3 years, market values were back, if not gaining appreciation.
Yeah, a lot of the
15, 16, we're after 8. By 12, 13, we were back. So in a 5-year period of time, everything, and then that just people bought all of these properties and companies bought these properties and either rented them back or made a ton of money during the flip process. Yeah. So there was just, if you just hang in there though, the point, if you just hang in there, instead of making a rash decision based on what everybody else is doing or how you're emotionally feeling in the moment, which I thought that was a very wise choice, because we did the same thing. We had 2 properties. We had one that was mine, or me and my wife's in-law. We were actually about to buy, so we were hanging on to it. We just turned it into investment property and wrote it out and eventually sold it. But we also had, our other home that we had bought, like it's right after the market collapse. Yeah. We're like, what the fuck is, what is this?
So
this sucks. I just lost 60 grand.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I went through a job loss, right? So like, not only in my house is down in value, I've got, creditors knocking on the door, right? Serving me, everything else. And I house hacked when I didn't even know what it was, right? Like, I had a friend who I worked with who also was going through the same thing. We were the same age. He had bought a house around the same time. He was able to fire sale his house, and then he just moved into my house.
Yeah.
You know, we split expenses at that point. So like, we were house hacking, but we didn't even know what we were doing.
Yeah, for us, I think it was maybe not known the time and market phrase. We wanted to do it sooner than later because like we've been lucky enough that a lot of our like early on clients and like a couple of fully retired has been done. All they would say was like the confidence they had 08, 09, and 10 are why they are done now. And there was kind of this thing, and I would always ask them like, what did people tell you then? You're crazy. Things are too expensive. There's no opportunity right now. It's dangerous. And so I think for us, it was kind of like, let's not listen to any outside noise, only like trusted advisory board, which was like, for me, actually pretty easy to do. Like, I think for the last 4 years as a business owner, I've tried to reduce the amount of people I take data from. But I think that's also another thing that most non-business owner, first-time buyers are not going to think is like I literally do not let my parents talk to me about any of this stuff. Like, they're not allowed to. Like, don't ask me what house I'm buying. Don't ask me how many clients we have. Don't ask if work was good. Like, they're going to skew the data no matter what, and rarely is it positive. But I think it would be a standard too to set with certain people, like, hey, let's do an audit. Who are the people you're excited to talk to about this, and who are the voices that scare you, and audit that going in. We knew to do that because we'd already been business owners, but like Adam, our buddy, for example, if he buys anywhere lower than Stowe or Hudson, he lives in the hood, and his whole family knows he lives in the hood now, and it's a status game.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate because that's it's something that I've caught a lot of grief from family and in the marketplace because that's something that's I've often to like piggyback on what Gary Vee talks about a lot, right? Is just go do it, right? You guys are a great example of that. You guys could have went nicer area. You know, you guys probably could have, right? But you chose to want to invest in the neighborhoods where you already were living and operating and working, and I commend that, right? Plus, we found what ended up being a really nice property at a pretty reasonable price. Because, like I said, we would have picked your guys' property up and put it in Lakewood, for example. It's double the price.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're going to get similar type results out of it. So that's the other thing, too, is like, for this generation coming up, I want to encourage them, like, there are ways to do this where, and I know what you're saying, like with the whole status game, like you got to stop giving a shit about what people think about you because they truly don't give a fuck.
No.
They don't give a fuck. And I know you probably struggle with that. I struggled with that for years.
I struggled with it for a long time.
Yeah, but like you just
Especially when
you can't care.
So status and title and all that.
And I think I'd go deeper to say, I think you should care and you need to just do an actual audit of who you care about.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's like I value what you guys think actually extremely highly. Throughout this whole process, it's actually something I've probably held higher than my own beliefs. But there were other people, like let's say parents, cousins, friends who don't own yet, where it's like, if they gave me other life advice, I'm listening, implementing immediately. But when it comes to this, it's like in lifting. If someone can't bench more than you, it doesn't matter what they're saying. Like it literally does not matter at all. And so I think giving people that permission to like temporarily silo who you listen to and just make your decision of trust up front, I think will speed up a lot of the real reason you're not getting that tax document, the real reason they haven't made it and shown their CPA.
Okay.
I agree. And I also think too that a lot of people like to talk about things they don't know about and should shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't. Like if I don't know
agree.
something, I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'll find you the answer, or you should talk to your CPA, or you should talk to your real estate attorney, or you should talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I don't know the answer, I say, hey, I like push them outward. But a lot of friends, family like to tell you things that they think they know, but they literally have no idea what they're talking about, and they love to push that opinion because they read something they thought was amazingly well written, and then that became their truth. And it's just like, you gotta be very careful. I think you guys are very wise at your age for being able to push that out, because I listened to a lot of people I shouldn't have listened to when I was in my 20s.
My stepdad is like, he wasn't always giving direct advice, but he's a guy I've modeled a lot. Like he had like a computer repair company. You know, he was on the computer till 3 a.m. That allowed him to work, make the money to like support the house payment after 08, things like that. And about a year and a half ago, I had some stressful life events happen where certain people did get cut out. And there was one moment where he was like, listen, he's like, the only advice I can give you is like, who you listen to advice from is the only thing that will determine your money. He goes, and even if you don't want to listen to me say this, he's like, please just take the advice. And it's funny because he's given, sorry Chris, but like some really bad advice since that, but that advice itself I've held on to very hard.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those, like, if I'm going to go into a certain area, it's like, who do I trust? Who do I think knows their shit? Let me play whatever play they're running. And then if they're wrong, we'll talk about it after.
Right.
But I will run the play.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great point because, I mean, it's what we teach in real estate, right? Like, the really successful agents have left the breadcrumbs. They've left the blueprints of what is very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And the agents that are successful are the ones who are running these same type of.
And one thing that I think is completely different from the late 90s, early 2000s is the willingness to share information on what's working. Or like blueprints of like, here's how I built my wealth, here's exactly how to do it, blah, blah, blah. And like people giving this in, before it was like, I'm not telling you shit because I want to win.
Are you guys
Now there's this way, like this belief of putting good out there and getting good in return, and I feel like there's a completely different feel in the real estate world, especially in Northeast Ohio, I feel, where even some of the guys that I just consume, even watching your content, were like, hey, this is what we did, here's how you do it, and then there it is, you know? I don't know, I feel like it was way more secretive, and like, I don't know, than now.
No, I have people, you know, I'll have people consult with, come, you know, find me online and then want to do a consultation, and then they'll be like, well, what's going to stop you from taking all the deals? I'm just like, whoa, like I'm not a bottomless pit, right?
There's a lot of deals to be had.
And two, it's like, why would I recommend this?
You're like, hey, I stay up every night asking myself that question.
Well, I tell people like all the time, like, why would I share this information with you and then not want you to succeed?
Well, here's a little belief statement. I was going to originally ask you guys, let's do this first. What has it been like having the whole process filmed and knowing that from the start, every single step has been filmed and documented?
I was okay with it. I just ran the play that I normally do. Mm-hmm. So in just communication, I was just hoping it met your standards of what you guys wanted, you know? So I just feel like, hey, if I do the best that we can in communicating with you, pushing you to do things sometimes, asking you, you know, and informing you along the way, it would all work out and we'd look good from it, and also hopefully have a happy client, you know? I just went into it thinking it would work out.
Yeah.
I much along the same lines, didn't bother me a bit because obviously we already do content.
Yeah.
So being in front of the camera is not that foreign to me. And then secondarily, like I wasn't acting any differently.
But I guess more of what was it interesting to see how I chose to document it? Like, was it interesting seeing like this is how I'm choosing to show it to other people?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
It's the first time it ever happened, so
a great example. Yeah, a great example is like that one house that we went and looked at over in Clark Fulton. I don't remember what street it was on, but normally I wouldn't have even let us go in the house.
Yeah.
Like it was such a piece of shit.
It was the one with the siding that was
it had asbestos
horrible.
siding, the roof was falling off.
There's no way it would have passed the FHA inspection.
Alex looked at it and goes, all right, where do we sign the contract? I'm like, whoa. Hold up. If we weren't, I think I said this when you were filming me.
Yeah, you did.
I said, if we weren't filming this, I wouldn't even let you go in this.
I want to see some of this B-roll.
Yeah,
Oh,
because like I value that. Like I wear it almost like a badge of honor. Like if I didn't strongly believe in it for the client, like I'm not gonna let you fucking buy it.
Yeah.
And that was one of those like it was no. Like I would have never let any of my clients buy that property.
Yeah.
Not just you guys, but like no one.
Yeah.
I would have never let anybody buy it. And I've done that hundreds of times, right? Like I walked a bunch of properties this week in Akron to send out some of my, my normal direct email marketing stuff. And there was like 3 or 4 properties that people were interested in. And as soon as I walked them, I was like, no. I had a client that I haven't talked to in 6 months reach out to me over the weekend about a $400,000 property in Lakewood. And I literally replied back to him and said, it's a terrible deal. They're like, what do you mean? And I sent them my analysis on it. It was negative cash flow.
Yeah.
Like, how many agents out there are going to turn down that $10,000 commission check when somebody has reached out to them, they have talked to them?
Especially in a market that high.
Yeah, in a market that, the agents are struggling in.
Yeah.
And the husband, it's a husband and wife, and the husband replied to me, goes, "Thanks, Mike, for having our back." That was it.
So yeah,
And that's why 6 months later they come back to you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
even if you
And
don't
they'll
go
eventually
yeah.
buy something.
Exactly, but that's
Like I'm
why
not
they come
that,
back.
and that's what I'm not worried about, right? Like for them and for you guys, like I wasn't worried about it. Like I want the right fit for the right. Like I've had clients literally. I had a guy one time buy a house the day he met me. Like literally called me. Had worked with another agent in Cleveland, didn't have a great experience, called me after he told me what he was looking for. I was like, "Hey, by the way, I think I saw a listing earlier today that I think would be a great fit." I emailed it to him. We were writing an offer that night.
it's my new standard immediately.
Right. And I've had people also come to us. I've had people come to us and, take a year. Right? Like, because they just weren't ready. I've had that end of it as well. So,
What time are we at before I do my last little segment here?
5 till.
5 till.
How long?
Well, one thing too that I thought was cool though.
We have our 4 o'clock, but I can tell Will that we're running late.
Just
we,
say roll on it.
we did everything though on the same text thread, which I thought was really cool.
An email to me?
No,
No,
on the
text.
text thread.
Put
So
everything in
like
your
when
text.
you were like, I remember I needed you to sign something, I just put it in the text thread. And I'm like, dude, sign this.
Yep.
Or whatever, remember?
And then I can
And
also
then, yeah,
harass him,
but
and
it-
Mike
but
can
you were
also.
also-
Yeah.
But it was also like, we were all communicating with each other very well, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that with agents now because of that.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that's great to have all of us on the same page, like, hey, here's exactly what's happening, instead of all these different lines of communication happening
I told Will we'll just push.
around. So like, instead of you just being on email there where I'm updating you, and then I'm updating Mike, and I'm updating you know what I mean? Like, we are all part of it.
And
I
honestly,
thought that was such a brilliant thing that I just don't do it.
Yeah, and then like when we're
Why
ready to
don't I
make an
do this?
offer, you're not blindsided as the lender,
No.
and you're like, oh, you guys
You're like,
are
hey,
looking
we're
at
offering on
houses
this,
this
and
whole
I'm like,
time.
boom. And then when you're like, hey, but I want you to do all of that on the text thread with Mike, I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah,
I
and,
can do all of
and just so
that.
you guys
That
know,
was
like
just different.
one of the assets that I'm gonna like give away with this is our text thread. So like for if you don't know how to talk to your lender and realtor, this is how you do it. Because this is the stuff I'm telling you guys. That is common sense
Mhm.
to you. I know my friends would be like, yeah, dude, I need to copy and paste all of those. And secondarily, the experience, like for me, is the group chat. The funny chirping back and forth, oh, you looked at a shitter today, don't let Alex make an offer.
Or like when you said you sent that wire, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I really flipped out. I was like, what do you mean? You sent a wire where? That's like the number one mortgage fraud.
Yeah.
So give some background.
Yeah, give some background.
So Jay, I needed to
like
fuck with
losing
Jay in
my
some way,
mind.
and I couldn't. I was like,
Oh my God.
I was trying to think how I could do it, and so there was one day where I was in the car, and I knew I should have put the headphones on, but you heard me park or get out or something, and you're like, hey, I need you to pull over. You need to like actually listen for this part, and it just slowed my day down so bad. And so I was like, all right, here we go. Like I'm going to do this the right way. And Jay's telling me how everything works, and we'd already talked previously. I think you had a client where this had happened to you. Maybe like
Yes.
it was like 3 months before, and you said it in passing, and I was like, oh wow, that's tough. I heard it, and then you were like, yeah, sometimes these like foreign accounts will say that they're the title company, they're not. I already got your warning from your title company, so I was good with it. And you're like, it's gonna be, I'm looking somewhere between 13 and 14K that's gonna be wired. I said, it's all good, like I already did the 15.5, I sent it over to him, and you're like, who? I was like, I think Raj, he says he's the title rep. I already sent him the 15K, like KeyBank approved it. And like there was like a good 3 second, just like no sound on the line at all.
I didn't know what was going on. I was like,
He told me he was going to do it to you.
I was
and I was like,
literally
I
just
don't know, man.
Cortisol, blood pressure.
whoa. I was like having a mini heart attack for you. 'Cause I was
You're like, who? Say it again?
what? What are you saying to me?
This is
Yeah, that was
after
good.
you told
when
him
got
that
me.
you financed like some crazy furniture purchase,
Yeah.
like right after.
No,
you
that's what
went
failed.
for
I
it.
tried to pull that on him.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was joking,
Like,
and I was like,
no,
I gotta
no,
wait for something better now.
And then the wire got me though. That was a good one. Appreciate it. Thank you. I needed that year off my life. No big deal.
Hey, you can get back.
Yeah.
All right, so then the fun part. So we all went to Texas Day, Brazil. We had a lot of steak, and as I've been traveling a lot for business lately, everyone always asks, what's going on in Cleveland? What have you done there? And the home buying has been a huge topic. We were at the Corcoran Group's office, and it stopped all productivity from like 1 to 3 p.m. in there, just seeing the numbers on the deal. Cap rate, I was like, we're two cavemen in Ohio to talk about that. Just here's the cash flow.
Right.
Here's my down payment.
Nice.
And also, we talked about leadership at dinner, and it was like, you never know where those conversations are going. And I was like, fuck, we all have something happening to us right now. And one of my favorite quotes is, God puts people in your life to show you where you're not yet free. And I like hated it the first time I've heard it, and I always try to challenge it. And I thought about at dinner how like all three of us, we had led not in our own business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've led for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I used to use an example where I was like, Jay was like in a company, but still like running things, but it was still not your company. Mm-hmm. Now I've done this as well, and I would say my like fraternity, I was a great leader for a year until I tapped out, and until recently, Katie can attest, like the leadership was non-existent. It's like started probably in the last 3 months. Mm-hmm. Everyone is interested in buying in Cleveland now that I work with out of state. They're staring at me like a hawk, prove to me this works, I'm good. We're literally renovating the downstairs so that when they come to Cleveland, they have a place to stay. But the question that gets asked is, are these guys just hustling or do they run a business? And I had to be honest with them, they're hustling. And one of the things I thought would be cool to public accountability ourselves on, instead of behind closed doors, is talk about what we all talked about at dinner and how we're gonna fix it. So it was very interesting that like you, for example, were like, I couldn't believe it. 2 people are drinking on the job and they're late and they're not doing their tasks. And I'm like, whoa, where'd this guy come from? And then hearing you talk about, you know, I had this militant operation, I had 30 lenders that report to me immediately every day. And Dave and Nadia are awesome, but there have been a lot of people that aren't like that aren't militant, and you just kind of let it go, let it breeze. Yeah. So, and for me personally, I've always had this like, I hate what the corporate world is so much, I'm gonna fight it. And then I'm getting back to like, fuck, Monday meetings don't sound like a bad idea. Like that would probably relieve my stress a lot. So what has the journey been like for you guys to like acknowledge that? Because for me at dinner, that was a huge like, woof, I didn't, you know, blind spot.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've told this story in multiple times I've been interviewed. I'm still evolving, right? When I got into real estate in 2016 after my departure from the hospitality industry, it was simply to make as much money as I was making previously and now not have a boss. Like that was my entire goal. Like I could make 70, 80 grand a year and I could have that freedom of not having to deal with TPS reports, right? Like that whole rigmarole. And then getting into real estate, it opened my eyes to the power of many things, your network, the amount of effort and energy you're willing to put in it, right? Like, and that's where I talk about it a lot. You know, I'm lucky that I got into KW right off the rip because they're well known as being like the training organization when it comes to real estate at top. And for me, just going and seeing how people operated and how the other top producers in our office worked and what they did, and you know, really funny story that I love to share is I had a deal one time when I was early in my career, it was probably 2017, and the thing fell apart. And there was 2 agents in our office that I worked with quite a bit. I would do open houses for them. They would kick me buyers that they didn't want to deal with. And I'm in there bitching to the one guy about the deal that fell apart. And his partner obviously has one ear listening, and he looks up over his computer, and he used to be in the military. And he's like, hey, you know, Magno, come here. And he like waves me over, and I walk over, and he goes, what are you doing? I go, well, I got this deal. He goes, shut up. You don't have enough deals, right? He's like, 2 out of every 10 deals you do, they're gonna fall apart for whatever reason. Someone's gonna die, someone's gonna lose their job, someone's gonna buy a car, you're gonna have deals fall apart. And he goes, if you're in here bitching, it was to the guy's name was Frank, if you're in here bitching to Frank for 15 minutes, how many calls could you have just made? And that was like the reality check of like, okay, I need to get my shit straight, right? So, you know, and we've continued to evolve, right? Like as I grew my business, and then Diana came online with us, you know, and then, you know, we've gone through a little bit of the growing pains of adding to the team, having people leave, and then going, you know what, we really don't want to do the team thing. And then we've kind of reinitiated that because I'm in this.
How fearful are you that if you turn that back on, you're going to scare someone away immediately?
Turn back on?
That leadership.
It's a different leadership now. You know, I don't think, for me personally, like I don't need to be that kind of a leader. Back then, it was just the way I was brought up, and then the way I was brought up in that industry was the managers, you're the hard asses, right? Like, and you have to be hard asses in that business because you got to keep everybody kind of on the straight and narrow as much as you can.
There's a lot of lot of things going on.
In real estate, the really successful leaders are the ones out there doing, and I mean, I've done a lot. So I would hope that shows people what can be done. I mean, it's something that I still struggle with to today, because and we talked about this at dinner, I don't know what direction to go, right? And I think I'm at the point, it's at a tipping point now where it's like, I have to go big, or I got to go back to just being one.
Or it's, you get to go big, but you stay right where you are.
Yeah. But then that's miserable, right? That's that miserable middle I'm in,
If you're not growing, you're shrinking.
Yeah. Well, and
It feels like it.
yes and no. I mean, we're definitely not shrinking. We've already surpassed last year's volume this year. When most agents right now are.
So I think the challenge for me, I was talking to Katie about it, was that it's not a financial risk I'm afraid of, it's an emotional risk. Like, I'm not really worried me stepping up as more of a leader is going to like hurt the bank account or make rent scary,
right.
Or I guess mortgage now scary. Yeah. It's like I told her that I was like literally just my virtual assistant who's going to make sure I like send my emails. Like literally she's going to read a list of send Mike his summary, send Jay his summary. Like I get nervous for that. Like the stress monitor goes to like a 2.8 out of 3. I'm probably like a 1.5. And so it was being honest with myself of like the thing that does make me nervous is the emotional risk of I'm going to turn the leader hat back on and I might make this person rich and they're going to leave me just like I did to my boss, or they're going to get scared away and I'm going to be the one that did it. And that was like what I journaled about after dinner. I don't know if you guys feel that at all.
Yeah, but I feel that a lot. I think you have to go through them. There's no way, to get to where you want to go, it's through. And I think that you have to meet people where they're at, which is what I've learned. I also think you have to understand the difference between, like, and I know Nick Saban talks about it, mediocre and high achievers. Like, mediocre people hate high achievers hate mediocre people. So I feel like if you vet as much as you can the people that you think or you see potential in, I think that's really where the difference is going to be for you. Whereas I used to just be like, let's hire everybody. I can change them. I'm going to be able to just make such an impact. They're going to be fucking fantastic. Spend 6 months with me. I'm going to teach them everything they need to know. They're going to be one of my top producers because I'm going to take them from here to here. Well, they didn't want to go from here to here. They wanted to go from here to here. They wouldn't even be at the same level that I hired them at, or just stay the same. They never really wanted to get better. They just were talking. And my leadership journey, I thought I had to be the hard ass I had. But when my leadership actually became way more impactful is when I became malleable, I became vulnerable, I started to meet people where they were at, I started to change their behaviors and certain things, but I also would cut ties quickly with people that I saw were full of shit. Yeah. So that has led me to like wanting to lead more and do things. Militant, not so much, but discipline of your standards and holding your standards of your company and what you are trying to achieve needs to be at the forefront of your company. And then you don't need to negotiate those for anybody. So I call them non-negotiables. Like, we're executing here, here, and here, which is why I had complete confidence in your process, because I knew we were going to execute it. And not let you down because we did all the right shit up front. We fixed your credit up front. I vetted your income up front. I had an underwriter literally underwrite your income up front. So that's why when we got that one thing and they're like, hey, we have it. I'm like, no, you fucking don't. No, you don't have an issue because we did this already, right? But so when I can't lead people, or when I have an issue with leading people, is when they don't want to be led, or there's a standard that they just don't want to fulfill, and then I feel completely comfortable cutting ties with them. Like, so I think we talked about that a little bit at dinner.
Yeah.
But I don't mean to get off topic. But.
No, it's on it. That's where I think my journaling hit a wall. I've talked to GPT about it. I was in Chicago with a lot of business owners last 2 days. And for me, it's more of I think I'm able to hire equal and below. That's not a stress for me. Like finding, let's say, like editing help or just like little one-off coaching, like that doesn't stress me out. It's I know I'm good at what I do. It's a whole nother skill set to find another me and be a better leader.
Yeah, but
that's the difference.
But do you have, first you have to be real conversation with yourself. Do you want and have the time and passion to pour into somebody else right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So if that's the case, then if that's really how you feel, then you need to cut the rest loose. And then you just, of all the negative parts that are holding you back from just going for it, and then just let it go. And then let's just.
So I guess the question for me, selfishly, would be like, how do you? I guess the hardest part of where the analysis paralysis starts is how do I track leadership versus self-performance, right? Because like I think that's a hard thing to match a standard when there's someone else coming in that I would say is going to play a generalist role, right? Like hiring for tactical things, I think is not something I struggle with. But I guess for you, like, who have been some lenders that you've maybe played a leadership role to that were like as good as you as just a lender? Like that's, I guess, what I'm saying. I have the fear of the analysis with. It's not this. Yes, I understand there are people where I can be like, hey, do this, this, and this. Boom, you're where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do I take someone who genuinely might even be 10% above where I'm at and push them to a 90 as the leader. That's the game I play in my head, because where I look at where the economy is going, I don't want any more that are medium or below. I'm good. I want to acquire someone that doesn't have the nuts, courage, or finance I have to do what I'm doing, and they would
right there. Everything you just said is your strengths.
Okay.
So, like, if you're looking for that 10%, they might have those attributes that you have. So when you're trying to push somebody, you have to first of all figure out where they're lacking, or maybe how they're above you. You can just you can get information from them just like when you're trying to push them, but you have to know where you can actually impact, because you can't impact everybody the same way. Like there are guys that I led that ended up becoming great directors, right? Or great leaders of companies or whatever. And I had to find ways to pour into them because their strengths were not my strengths and some of their weaknesses were my strengths. So then I could honestly just know how I would pour into them, because all people aren't the same. So there's no like blueprint of like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna get this guy who might be 10% better at me these 3 things, but I'm 50% better at him at these 5 things. So let me focus on those 5 things to push his lid.
It's to immerse myself and build a muscle game.
Yeah.
It's not a script game.
No, it's not a script game. It's not a tech game. It's an emotional game. Leadership is a way more emotional game than, ones and zeros, man. And or just like me looking at like where his production has been. Okay, his production has still been going up, but how can I push him 25% more? What's his schedule look like? Where is he investing his time? What can he delegate that are bullshit because he's way better at this instead of busy tasks? How can I, you know what I mean? Like, how can I actually make an impact on and get more out of Mike, just as an example, by knowing who he is, how he operates, and how he's spending his time versus just trying to manage, okay, you did this production and you closed this many deals in these areas, well, why don't you focus on these clients? Or a lot of leaders try to focus on just spreadsheet bullshit, which is just completely the wrong way to lead.
It's almost like a vibe in basketball. It's like, is this guy a point guard or is he a center? Like
100%.
Yeah. What is this? Okay.
I mean, do you have anything to add to that? I know that was a lot of
you've been listening mode too.
I was very much in listening mode.
Thank you.
No, it was great because you have grown and led much larger teams. For me, I'm still at the very, in terms of real estate team building, like I'm still very much at the very green fledgling stage of it. And for me, it's figuring, and where I have failed and Alex has been pushing me and holding me accountable, my systems are terrible.
So that leads to where this wraps, okay? Everyone wants to know when they do come to Cleveland, if they do purchase a property, they want it automated. They do not want to feel like they're the fanciest belle of the ball. I appreciate it from both of you, but not needed for any of these people.
Okay.
They're high operators. They make a shit ton of money. Can we at least say by the end of the year they're going to have a clean system and you're both going to have a great staff that can take care of them and you will make sure everything goes well if they decide to work with you two to buy a property in Cleveland?
Yes. Yes, 100%.
That's what people cared about.
Okay.
So.
And I know you can go back and edit this, so I just want to add one more thing to the leadership thing. At my emptiest, I had the biggest staff. I think at my worst point in leadership, I had the biggest staff and the most people working with me. Okay? I only had 5 people actually accounting for about 90% of the production. The other 35 were fucking off. So hire slow, fire fast, make sure they're a fit. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, we often talk in our industry about Pareto's principle, right? The 80-20 rule. I would argue, to your point, Jay, that it's more like 95-5, right? 5% of the agents, 5% of the originators are doing like 95% of the business.
Everybody else is just a cost.
Yeah. And that's where I think the challenge is for, very, very high producers, us finding the people there, because there's just such a slog of agents and originators out there that wading through all of that mess. It just, I mean, for me personally, it just takes up so much bandwidth that I don't want to waste, right? Because I look at it from the perspective, I'll just go do another deal.
I think that's the game that like I can always, that's been the hard thing. It's like, say no to that. And that's where it's like right now, it's like, do I have the time? Yeah, it's like, but I'm like doing everything in my power to not like go back to the control. How do I like turn it into something that's like a real system so that if someone even were to fill it in, they're filling it in. It's not like, hey, I have anxiety, you need it now too. That's our system.
Yeah, I operated that way for a long time, brother. That is no way to go.
I guess what we're going to see out of you then, our challenge back to you is going to be, you are, you have gone, in the 2 years I've known you, you've gone full head, into adopting a lot of this AI automations, that type of stuff to actually help guys like us take a lot of that off of our plates. So, that's going to be something that obviously we're going to,
after this,
need from you, is just pushing us to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I
and selfishly for the camera, like I'll just take my credit. The reason I documented all this for me to make money is that I now know their exact system, documented T by T, and we're going to use ChatGPT to figure out what they need.
the camera died.
Amazing.
Very good.